I walked out of Endgame extremely satisfied with the way they handled it. All the things were, tied up neatly, and they did it in 3 hours. And then watching the end of Game of Thrones, I was just, I felt like probably my girlfriends in high school felt like just extremely like disappointed.
I can see that.
Welcome to the Captioned Life, a podcast about the impact of comics and pop culture on life and society. I'm your host, Kevin Stoliker.
I'm James. I'm one of your other hosts.
And I'm Sean. I'm another host doing this in his closet.
I actually thought you were in your shower because of the shower curtain, whatever that is behind you.
It's not a shower curtain. It's a window curtain. It's a window curtain. So, no, I have not reached to that level yet.
We're going to start our first official podcast with the end, or the end game, that is. With the release of Avengers Endgame, we've seen the culmination of 10 years of storytelling in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it has become a true phenomenon. And I believe that its impact will be felt in pop culture for a very, very long time to come. So let's start a little roundtable with like what your guys' initial reaction to the film was.
I'll go first, I guess. After 10, 11 years of watching these since Iron Man 1 back in 2008, it was kind of bittersweet to see, everything kind of come to an end, what they've been doing so far. But I thought it was just an amazing movie. And I really cannot wait till this comes out on Blu-ray and digital, though, because I really want to watch this like back to back with Infinity War and have about 5.5 hours there where I'm just immersed in it and just watching that entire storyline play out.
Yeah, I think for me, when I watched the movie, I think there was like three things that really stuck out for me in terms of the movie is, in terms of scenes. So the first one that really like rose the hairs on my arm. So I saw is like when everybody came back. Mm-hmm. And they undid the snap, and like it was amazing because I know for me, I don't know about you guys, but when I watched Avengers Infinity War, it had like such an emotional impact for me because I left that movie like devastated, and I knew it was a good movie because like I never had a movie had that sort of effect on me before, and so it's just like I felt like all hope and like the air was taken out from you like after watching that movie, right? And then when that scene happened where you saw everybody come back, like it was just funny because everybody in the theater, I went on opening night, like was like cheering and like throwing their hands up and stuff like that. And so it was just really great to see like how in Infinity War you had that hope like dash, and then they just like brought it back just as quickly too, right? I think the one scene where they had Captain Marvel and all the other female superheroes like kind of form a front line to help Captain Marvel get the Iron Infinity Gauntlet to the Ant-Man van, where you just kind of see all of them, just like all the women just look like so badass, right? And just like, we got this, and like telling Spiderman like, go sit down, right? Like we got this. It was great because I think like, again, going back to, including other narratives, like I think that's going to have a really great impact on, women and girls everywhere to see themselves in that kind of light where like, they don't need men to do this stuff. Right. And so now, as much as I love that scene, after I thought about it, I was just like, did Captain Marvel really need everybody to help her? Like, probably not. I mean, she just took Thanos' like ship out by herself. Like, I don't know if she really needed everybody to help her, but that scene I think is just going to have a really strong impact. So
I'm interested to see where they go with her story later on, and we're going to get off topic. I'm going to double back to this, but it's the same problem that the DC has with Superman and has for such a long time, that he's just so powerful that you have a hard time finding a good adversary for him. And I think she's going to have a similar problem. But I do like the way they minimized her role and allowed the people who were less powerful to like sort it out. I'm glad that it really was a fourth Avengers movie featuring the same Avengers that started the first one.
Right.
And just like you, the scene where like once Falcon said "on your left," I was just like the 10-year-old that fell in love with comics was awakened inside of me. And I had been waiting. I mean, there have been so many iconic scenes in the MCU that have stirred that inner child in me. But like to see every single major MCU superhero character on the screen like that, it was something like truly breathtaking. Now, I will say this: I had a slightly different reaction to Infinity War than you did, Sean. I know that it was a very, very devastating, end into the film, but I think maybe because I'm calloused towards certain things, maybe like in my personal life, has caused me to be this way. Like I knew that it was just that they were all going to come back. I was more interested in how they came back. My son, I saw it with my 9-year-old at the time, and he's blubbering because Peter Parker
I know.
got snapped away, and he's like, "No, Dad, Peter Parker." And I had to sit down with him, and I was like, "Look, dude, Black Panther just made $1 billion a few months ago, and they've already announced that they're filming another Spider-Man movie. Okay, so they're going to come back." It was interesting to see that in the film, though, some people that you were most anxious to see were they really dead, they didn't address it. They left the movie like open. They left Loki open to interpretation because there's some version of Loki still hopping around the universe with the Tesseract, because they alluded to that, but they didn't touch on Vision at all.
No.
And I felt at the end of the film like that was something that they missed out on. But if they did it, it was strategic. It's whatever for whatever reason they have a plan to develop that down the road.
Well, I've got a theory about that, and it's probably totally off base because my theories in the MCU are typically awful. But I think that maybe in Black Panther 2, Shuri already has Vision's like download backup complete. So they bring Vision back then, and then that kind of leads into your Hulu or Disney Plus Wanda Vision show.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking.
Interesting.
Possibly.
I do like the fact that they began to allude to Wanda's power level in the showdown that she had with Thanos at the end. Like she was like, "I crush you," like Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Right.
If he dies, he dies.
Right.
What the other thing that I took away from it was was with them not addressing Vision, and with the death of Tony Stark, rest in peace. That
for
they
those
actually,
of you who are listening to this, he just did like a little kiss up into the air.
Right.
Peace to yes.
There were real stakes in this one. Okay, like I've always felt that at some point somebody was going to have to die for real. Otherwise, you just get this cyclical and formulaic model of storytelling, where in the end the hero is always gonna come out on top. And I think that the way they handled Tony's death and the way that they handled Cap's retirement was exceptional. And even since then, in the 6 weeks since the movie's come out, the Russo brothers have alluded to the fact that if he's interested in it, that there's one more, Captain America story to tell down the road. And that would be up to
Cap.
Yeah, it'd be up to Chris Evans. The the next question that I had was, what do you think is next for the MCU?
You know, since Phase 3 officially ends with Spider-Man Far From Home, I think we're going to have to kind of wait and see. I do think, all three of those snaps, well, 4 actually, if you count the one where Thanos destroyed the stone. So 1, 2, so 4 snaps. That's going to have a consequence of some kind. But that might be part of how Mysterio gets to, the like MCU universe from whatever universe he's been in, and then maybe that's how you get the Fantastic Four
and the X-Men.
And the X-Men too, because of the 4 snaps. Like, it's got to rip a hole in reality or the universe somewhere along that line.
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of where the MCU is going to go, I think the thing that I'm excited about the most, and this is going to sound a little bit morbid, but I can't remember another time in cinematic history where we've had an iconic figure like Tony Stark, where he's made an impact on like so many lives like this, that we have a major character that died, and then the story continues beyond that person's death. Because like we kind of just, when you look at like cinematic movies and series like this, like, typically like when someone dies, like, it tends to be it, or they kind of change the story a little bit when they go beyond that, right? I mean, but I think for this, I think, we're going to see that in, Spider-Man Far From Home. I hope what they do is they kind of address that with Doctor Strange, because I'm thinking about like Doctor Strange must go through some sort of like PTSD moment where he must be struggling with the fact, like, he knew this whole time that in order for this to work, Tony Stark would have to die like that. Yeah. And so I really hope that they kind of have him struggle with that, which I know they kind of did in Iron Man 3 with the aftermath of the first Avengers movie. But I mean, that's like when it comes down to like comic books and movies and things like that, like, it's never really about the powers. It's just about like what they do with the powers and that kind of responsibility, the psychological toll that things can go on with that. And so I think this is a really good opportunity for them to kind of venture that area of like dealing with someone's death like head on in a movie or in a movie series, as opposed to like, this person died, like, it's sad, then we move on, right? And so I think that's really just a good area to kind of, for you to see like how he still impacts these movies like beyond Endgame. And so we're going to see that in Spider-Man Far From Home, and I really hope we see that in some of the other movies, especially Doctor Strange. I think that might be a good opportunity for that. So
and I'll take what you're talking about, and I'll use it to compare 2 points to another important pop culture phenomenon that just recently ended, and that's Game of Thrones. So I was extremely excited about like both Endgame and the end of Game of Thrones. They're happening within a month of each other here this spring. And what you're talking about, like the death of a major character, Game of Thrones did that really, really well in the first season by killing off the above the title star of the show in Sean Bean, to everyone's surprise, and the show was really elevated because of it, because it showed what these characters did in the aftermath of that. And I think that you're right, that this is a strike while the iron is hot opportunity for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The other thing is man, did Marvel know how to end a story so much better than the writers of Game of Thrones? I don't know if either of you guys watch it, but like I walked out of Endgame extremely satisfied with the way they handled it. All the things were tied up neatly, and they did it in 3 hours. And then watching the end of Game of Thrones, I was just I felt like probably my girlfriends in high school felt like just extremely like disappointed.
I can see that.
Like Like, wow, that's it. And
It's like,
I hate to self-incriminate, but anyway, like it the storytelling aspect of the MCU, like those people are incredibly invested in what they produce. I think Marvel did a lot of fan service in the end of in Endgame, and I think it paid dividends on how each of those stories were received.
Mm-hmm.
you know, with Endgame, I mean, that was kind of like your Thanksgiving feast there. I mean, you've got everything there you could possibly want. You know, you got your turkey and your potatoes and your cranberry sauce, like everything like right there. And you're done with that meal and you're full and you're tired and you're happy. Endgame, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Spider-Man Far From Home plays out being the actual end of phase 3. Because I feel like it ended so well after Endgame, but we've got one more movie left, and I think we're definitely going to see like Peter Parker's world kind of after Tony's gone, and it's going to be kind of interesting to see how all that plays out. And then, of course, you're going to have some of Peter's friends, you know, that lived through that 5 years after, you know, the snapshot. So it's like you've got Peter and some of his friends being 5 years older than him being the same age as he was and everything. So I think that's really going to be an interesting tale. I just don't see exactly where it fits in at the end of Endgame. But, you know, at this point, after, you know, 23 movies, I think I trust them.
Yeah, I think we're all in store for something that nobody is anticipating with Spider-Man. Like everybody, I think we all, like me, like the jaded version of me that knew that they were all coming back. I just was interested in how that was going to happen. I think that they've set Spider-Man up for something like to do some reveal that's going to impact the future of the MCU in a way that nobody's expecting.
I mean, it's going to introduce Phase 4, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, if you're interested, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at Captioned Life. You can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, or leave us a message on Anchor or any of those services. We would love to get your feedback and hear what you think about this conversation. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you'll come back for another episode soon. So I'm Kevin Stoliker.
I'm James.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Caption Life. We'll talk to you later.
Peace out.
See ya.